Good morning, or good afternoon. Kind of list, when you wake up late, you don't remember the time of the day. How are you? Good afternoon, and welcome once again to Tenny Miller Live. Um, it's this to all of you watching from the diaspora and from various parts of Jamaica. I just want to say thank you and welcome to the program today. And as we go through the morning, go the session, we just wanted to kind of look at, I beg your pardon, look at some of the issues of the day that we want to see if we can unpack and get your opinion and share them with you and get some of your responses and your opinion on this. We're going to look at from economic and public safety to entertainment and everyday life in Jamaica. This is basically the composite of what the show is about. We're looking at from Kingston to Montego Bay, from Toronto to London, from if you're Jamaican, the conversation includes you, wherever in the diaspora you are. So today we're going to be kind of looking at a number of things and look at some of the things which are part of the growing debate in the public and the open space. There are things like Uber driving, the in driving, and how Uber drivers are operating in Jamaica, the daily frustration Jamaicans faces with our banking system, and God knows a lot of us have issues with that. The Jahai Francis Carnival shooting, if that's his name, Jahai France shooting incident in Kingston, and later the sensitive topic of minors caught in crossfire with the police. Police who are people who are trained to serve and protect. And we have so many young people being shot inadvertently by members of the security forces. But before we get into all those, no, before I get into that, I want to ask Jamaicans listening here in Jamaica and in the diaspora, if you think you have some thoughts on this and some of the things that we're about to drop a line, drop a message in the chat line, a question, a suggestion, and let us see how we can, help to share that with the rest of persons across and see if we can get some answers. They say in the discussion process, somehow answers will find its way out. Before we get into the full length of our segment, however, I just want to mention that I was privileged to have participated in the launch of the Jamaica Diaspora 2026 conference launch at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs yesterday. And believe you me, it was quite an interesting exercise. They have grown tremendously. The Secretariat has come into its own and have come up with some new innovations and stuff. And we're going to be looking at some of that in a minute. But before we get into that, we just get a quick break, but then we're going to look at that and more as we unpack some of these issues this morning. This is Tenny Miller, and welcome to Tenny Miller Live.
Derek McLeod, J. Tours.
Barrington Beckford, Moxie Tours, VP.
Denzel Gray,
Affects thousands of Jamaicans every single day. Transportation. Over the last few years, rides hailing apps like Uber and Drive have quietly become available and emerging as a major part of our movements around the city of Kingston, Montego Bay, and the notorious. For many people, the convenience is perhaps good, and it's good in the sense that you just open an app, a driver nearby and negotiate a drive, and within seconds, there you are, you're on your way to wherever you're going. But while the technology is convenient, it is good for quite a number of persons, especially those of us who work in offices and various places. And the convenience of the modern day convenience of a Uber or a U-Drive. The reality on the ground has raised serious concerns about safety regulations, fairness of competition. The conversation really intensifies in June on 24, after a tragic murder of primary school teacher Daniel Anglin. Anglin, who lived in St. Catherine, had arranged transportation through a ride. She later went missing and her body was eventually discovered, sending shockwaves across the country. Following that tragedy, the government moved to temporarily ban those hail riding services while regulators try to determine how these platforms should or should not work. And of course, how they must operate within the transportation system. But the truth is, the demand never disappears. People continue to using the service because they are often faster, cheaper sometimes, than the traditional options. At the same time, licensed taxi operators are having a concern.
One ticket, please.
We had a discussion with a couple of members of the Juta, Jekyll, Maxi Tour, and Hackney carriage operators and licensed taxi operators some time ago. And they who have to follow the rules of the Transport Authority and their organization, TODS, have been feeling the pinch and the brunt of what is happening, because with every innovation, there's a negative or a very down effect that comes with it. We had a discussion with some of these operators. Listen to their concerns and their cry.
We do tours island-wide. We do transfer. We partially ensure and protect our tourists whenever time we pick them up. Whenever time we take them on tours, we normally stay around them to make sure everything is fine. Having Uber in our space would definitely affect us badly, because what Uber is doing is cutting our rates and then use private vehicles to transfer the people across Jamaica. Sometimes they pick up persons, the persons doesn't know who these guys are because they are private vehicles. We are registered, logo on our vehicle, numbers on our vehicle. So we believe our farmer transport is a lot safer than the Uber transport. So we are asking the government to don't allow Uber in our space, because it is going to affect us badly. So we wanted to have a face-to-face meeting with the government to give him more in details as to what it will do to us. This is all I have to say. Okay.
Good evening, Jamaica on a whole. This message is for the people of Jamaica. It's also for the government. And it's also for the companies, transportation companies here on the island. My belief is we who are transport operators should not be going through what we're going through in regards to being infringed on. And then the companies that are infringing on our livelihood is being embraced by the government. The government must realize that we spend a lot of money in the Jamaican economy in regards to purchasing vehicles, in regards to staying licensed, right? Uniforms, everything comes into play. So we spend a lot as individuals to be able to operate. And our quarrel is that if you have a people that you're concerned about and you have an entity that would like to come in to do some type of service to your country, it is that you're supposed to be able to do a research or some type of investigation to see what type of damage this company can actually do for your country. Now, on Google, the history of Uber in regards to their operation in other countries. Yes, we heard the Jamaican government say that, or the news media said that they're operating in so many hundreds of countries and so forth. Yes, right? But what is their track records? How many countries have they been kicked out of because they've been dodging, being regulated, right? Uber don't bring nobody to Jamaica. Money don't stay here in the Jamaica. How does it benefit we as a people in Jamaica? Yes, they could have maybe paid off maybe a 1 or 2 person to be able to operate here on the island. But the overall picture is that, and the bottom line is that the people come to Jamaica for the guests, I should say, come to Jamaica, or the tourists come to Jamaica to see the liberty of the Jamaican people, to see how the Jamaican people live. And that experience should be produced by the Jamaican people that's in transportation, right? You have a foreign entity that has no concern about the Jamaican people. They don't have a vehicle here. They don't bring no one here. And they collect the majority of the revenue from a tour. You have individuals, and I'm saying this is to say, the government needs to see the growth of Uber here in Montego Bay, because I see in the news that they said that it's operating everywhere else on the island except for Montego Bay. Well, Uber been operating in Montego Bay for about 4 years now. I can bear witness to that. I work nights. And the reason why Uber has such a growth here in Jamaica is that there's no regulating Uber at night. I am talking from anywhere from 11 o'clock at night to 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. They run the clubs here in Montego Bay. They come from the resorts, white plate, 2-door, even that, I'm tempted to say even bicycle. They bring people to these clubs at night. There's no transport authority here looking out for Uber at nighttime. There's no police looking out for Uber at nighttime. They're making havoc on us as tour operators that is fully licensed to be able to operate even at night. They're coming off the ship, Uber. They're coming off the resorts, Uber. They're coming off the Airbnb, Uber. So what is left for us? Why is there nothing in place or in writing if the government mean us any good? We're the ones that voted for our government to be for us and by us. So what happened? Where did that go?
My colleagues,
We're in a catch-22 because the operators, as was expressed by this gentleman a while ago, is now saying that, well, and we're talking now those people who deal with tours and the tourism sector. But then the taxi operators also will tell you that the Uber takes away part of the earnings from the persons who have to leave their home to go to the offices and to take care of other business across town. But then they are not getting any major part of the business anymore, or they are being challenged, or they have to pay their road license, their insurance, and the various fees. And if they're part of an organization or association, they have to pay their dues or their fees according to that. But still, they're not getting enough because the Uber is creeping into that part of their earnings. And they're calling now for regulations from the government. While we support the call for regulations from the government, while we ask for, the balancing of the whole scale and making sure that there's the integrity within the system, the Uber is going to create a problem because you cannot be having one law for the meek and another one for the Persian. They have to be regulated. They have to come under some sense of management and organization. Equally too, these taxi and bus and maxi operators must also bear in mind that they have an organization, whether it is called TUDS or Taxi Association, and they must also look at the other aspect of what the government is not doing. Their regulation and regulatory measures must be in place. So they must ensure that their members are really functioning members and are making sure that they toe the line where the regulations are concerned. But not only that, I just want to go forward to back a little bit to where the first speaker spoke about the two but people are regulated at night, and there's no police and there's no transport authority looking out for them at night. But how many of them operate at night? How many of them, when people, guests or locals, wants to go out at night to go to a party or to go and enjoy some nightlife, how many of them are really out there at night? Is there a proper organizational framework within their organization to say, well, okay, fine, Peter, John, Paul, and Bonnie from this area will work at night this week. The next week, another set of persons will work at night. And they have a rotation basis. So they're always reliable, credible, safe, and licensed, insured operators on the road at night, so that those tourists and those other persons will be able to access secure and proper and professional service at night. So we must complain, and you must insist that the government do what they have to do. But equally too, you have to make sure that you're a member of an organization and you follow the regulatory rules of your organization. You make sure that you all meet together and that you help to put in structure into the system, because what the government and what the transport organization, I understand, like TUDS is trying to do, is to have a professional organization that will be able to bring forth quality service to Jamaicans as well as visitors alike. So I hear the cry, and the cry is genuine and it's legitimate. But equally too, they have to, as an organization, and they are as individuals, must make sure that they are part of their organization. And so when the organization have to talk to government, they will get a body of support to speak to government, because the members are not just occasional members when there's a crisis, but they are members who are concerned about how the process, how the department, how the sector operates in a professional way, so we can bring about sobriety, we can bring about decency, we can bring professionalism. And in terms of the behavior change, because the different parts of the sector affect the next one, you know. And those people who operate the buses and the taxis in the days, and when they carry out disorderly conduct and rude and lucid behavior and dishonesty of one sort or the other, it affects those people who are trying their best to really do a professional service, because that's their livelihood. But the Uber and the in-drive or out-drive, those hail services are something which is creating a problem, because they are not having the kind of regulatory measures by government as these licensed people who are paying for the road license and paying for their insurance and the parts of the car and some of the bad roads that some of them have to drive on. Dear God, it's criminal. But let us continue to hear what the other gentleman has to say.
I've spoken on most of the issues that we're currently having. But one thing I want to highlight are for the consumers, persons who are contemplating or currently using this app, have opportunity to be in areas where these drivers bring their passengers and leave them. Because what you have to understand, what I've found out is that Uber is a one-way drop-off. And as it relates to Montego Bay, where I'm from right now, I've seen where they have dropped off guests in about 4 to 5 miles out of town, in the boondocks, you want to call it, in the bushes. And the guests are having problem now to come back to the city. Because whenever they try to get back to Uber, no one wants to take them back based on the prices that Uber are currently charging them. So that's going to be another problem for the consumer. You don't know if they'll come back for you, especially the guests, the tourists, that the area that they're coming in right now and trying to get business from the tourists. Secondly, I'd like to highlight is that you, the consumer, us as regulated drivers in the tourism industry, we have to go through different things. We have to do a fingerprint. We have to go through different stages to ensure that we're safe to take passengers. If any of us have committed any serious crime, we won't be allowed to transport tourists per se. So you, the consumer, especially the tourists, going in a vehicle with someone that you don't know who's not even gone through the system, your life is at risk. So you have to bear in mind that your life could be at risk. The Grim Reaper could be in the driver's seat, taking it down the road there. So I'm just warning the consumer, be aware. Our prices are dictated by the government and the relevant authorities. Simple means they tell us how to charge, when to charge, and what to do. If Uber should be allowed in Jamaica right now, which they are now, they dictate their own prices. That's unfair competition for us. We cannot bring our prices down to that. We have to pay the government taxes, buy tires for our cars, gases, take care of our family, and be comfortable in this island. So if we try to compete against them, we won't be able to do all of that. What will happen to us is that our vehicles are going to break down. We can't buy gas. We can't pay the taxes that are supposed to be paid every year to the government, etc. And all of these things. So we see it as a problem for the future for us in the industry. And we're saying that Jamaica is too small to accommodate a big company like Uber. And the government and the relevant authority needs to see this. We have to be proactive, look for the future and the future of the people. And we're saying that we want Jamaica to grow in strength and to be better. This is one thing that's going to bring us down and bring the industry to a grinding halt. And people are going to suffer if we allow this company to come here because of the unfair practices and the unfair prices, and they're not regulated. So the consumers, one last thing I like to highlight again, be aware. You might see it as a cheaper option, but your life could be at stake.
Bless. My name.
We get the warning from an operator who is concerned about safety, security, and of course, he speaks in interest of his earning, his livelihood, and the protection of the industry, the integrity of the industry, the safety of the consumers, the traveling public, whether it's for your regular nightlife or for your daily activities. Because if there's a major accident, we don't know what level of insurance that some of these people have, that you might be able to sue them and get any kind of a proper benefit, especially if your job will not be able to cover you between home and work, and you get caught in an accident and it's not happening. So that's a real issue, and that's a real thing to be addressed and for people to be concerned about. But I understand that the minister is aware, and the minister therefore is with his team trying to work out some kind of an amicable arrangement or understanding with that process, right? So that we can have the various players to play in the marketplace. But the regulations has got to reflect that. And the taxi operators, the licensed, legitimate hackney carriage taxi operators, bus operators, these people must not only feel that justice is done, but they must see it. They must understand, and they must be knowledgeable that, yes, okay, fine, there must be some kind of a coexistence. Because there's also a need for those people. Don't mind me wrong. There's also a need for them. But it's a question of how much of them you allow in market. And then if it is an upscale service, then it has got to be treated as such, above and beyond the standard operators, and therefore then the price arrangement and that has got to be different. So that it creates a difference. It's just like if you have a JUTC traveling from Kingston to Montego Bay, and you have a Knoxford Express traveling from Kingston to Montego Bay. You have an option to decide whether or not you're going to take the JUTC or you're going to take Knoxford. If you want a cold bottle of water and some air conditioning and some Wi-Fi. Stick and stay. This is Tenny Miller Live. We're going for a break. When you come back, the discussion continues.
Do you own land and need a title? Well, the National Land Agency NLA can help. Through the systematic land registration process, the NLA will assist residents to get titles in declared project areas across Jamaica. Systematic land registration is the methodical and orderly registration of parcels of land in a designated area known as systematic adjudication area. For further information on the systematic land registration process, including declared systematic adjudication areas, who can apply and the benefits, visit the National Land Agency's website at www.nla.gov.jm or email asknla@nla.gov.jm. The National Land Agency, one agency, one goal.
Are you living on or in possession of family land? Do you want to sell or subdivide the property? Use eLand Jamaica to search for details on the property. You can complete a title search and verify the owner before you sell the property. If your name does not appear on the title, register the land or clarify the existing title in your name before you sell. A title is a notice to the world of your ownership of land. For more information, contact the National Land Agency at 876-750-5263 or 876-946-5263. The National Land Agency, one goal to serve you better. Are you confident that you are the legal owner of your property? Take action to secure your property ownership. Get a registered certificate of title and become the legal owner of your property. To register your property and obtain a certificate of title, you will need to provide a tax registration number (TRN), a valid government issued identification, a survey diagram, documentation to prove ownership, up-to-date property tax certificate, the names, addresses, and occupations of 2 neighbors over the age of 50 who are not family members and can give a declaration on your behalf. Proof that you have been in open, undisturbed, and undisputed possession of the property for 12 years or more. For further information on registering your property and obtaining a certificate of title, contact the National Land Agency at 876-750-5263 or 876-946-5263. Email asknla@nla.gov.jm or message us at WhatsApp at 876-418-5089. The National Land Agency, one goal to serve you better.
Do you own land and need a title? Well, the National Land Agency NLA can help. Through the systematic land registration process, the NLA will assist residents to get titles in declared project areas across Jamaica. Systematic land registration is the methodical and orderly registration of parcels of land in a designated area known as systematic adjudication area. For further information on the systematic land registration process, including declared systematic adjudication areas, who can apply and the benefits, visit the National Land Agency's website at www.nla.gov.jm or email asknla@nla.gov.jm. The National Land Agency, one agency, one goal.
Are you living on or in possession of family land? Do you want to sell or subdivide the property? Use eLand Jamaica to search for details on the property. You can complete a title search and verify the owner before you sell the property.
Welcome back to the show. This is Tenny Miller Live, coming to you from the studios of Flex FM and the Tenny Miller Live studios out here in Montego Bay. So we are in 2 different jurisdictions. We try to look at issues of the day and to see how we might be able to, share some thoughts on it with you. And we ask that if you have any comments or concerns and so on, please give us a call at 566-8407. That's 566-8407. Or, just, make a comment in the chat from wherever you're watching from, and, you're tuning into us on WhatsApp or Facebook or wherever you get your messages and your news and your information. A while ago, we just spoke to a little bit the situation that has to do with the in drivers, the Uber drivers, and the established taxi and minibus operators, especially in the tourist related areas like Montego Bay, Ocho Port Antonio, and so on. And actually, the Kingston metropolitan area, they have taxi operators and they have the Uber drivers there. And especially when it's rainy time, people call Uber just to get where they have to go because they don't want to wait on the taxi and that sort of thing. And we have some issues with that. And then the fact that so many vehicles are on the road at the peak hour in the afternoon or morning time, or when it rains, people just want to get out and to get home. So there are challenges there. So, but the matter has got to be worked out. And sometimes one wish that before some of these things are announced or made to operate or to function, that there is a very deep amount of consultation and as wide ranging as is possible so that you can have all the variables in front of you. So when you're making decision, it is properly informed and it does not meander into back and forth. And Lord, this country where there was probably contention and worries and backbiting and fighting. We have to see through that. I know, for example, a couple of days ago, yesterday, the Transport Authority apparently made some announcement about their new fare table for the Kingston and metropolitan areas, and what you must pay, whether it's 100 from here, 100. I not necessarily have a problem in principle with that, but when I listen to both some of the operators and persons out there who are part of the sector, what I gather, and I'm simply responding to and sharing what is coming from the people and the operator, they say, how come the government never just finalize the thing with us first before they make an announcement? Why the announcement is going on? Are they going to be implementing it? And that's a concern. And the people want to be able to know that these things are, shared. People are consulted. They feel a part of the process or the decision. So when the decision is made, they can say, well, okay, fine, yes, me know what go on, me did me did hear about it, my president did tell me about it, the secretary did tell me about it. And therefore it has no animosity and ill will, and it doesn't result into demonstrations and war and people ball out injustice. We have to move from that. We are not a third world country. We are bordering a first world country, and we have a greater sense of democracy and political and social decency than some of the bigger countries that are around us. We do. And our leadership, despite your political affiliation, our leadership have some greater sense of decency, respect, and honor in this little country than some of the bigger countries around us. Some of them is such a travesty of justice and an embarrassment that it make you cringe. But enough of that. Yesterday, I was privileged to participate in the opening of the launch of the biannual Jamaica Diaspora Conference at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And the Diaspora Organization is one of those organizations that I've had the privilege of being a part of from ever since inception. And it has had its metamorphosis. It has grown and it has battered and beat up and stuff. Being politically here, non-political there, non-political here, quasi-political there. And I think it is and seems to be outgrowing this fractiousness or perception of fractiousness when it comes to the political, bickering. Because at front, yesterday, sitting down in front was the Minister of Foreign Affairs, who has the portfolio responsibility for the diaspora, because that is the government is in power. And she take on her job and she's doing her job. And I must commend her for the quality work that she has been doing. I'm not saying that she's perfect, granted. Lord, none of us are perfect or infallible. but she is improving continuously. And I think she's one of the first person to acknowledge that based upon my interaction with her. And sitting beside her in the front was Senator Donna Scott Motley, the opposition spokesperson on foreign affairs and foreign relations. And they were there sharing the spotlight and, working out things together and, sharing in the glory of the moment of the Jamaican diaspora and looking at how we can invite Jamaicans from abroad to come help to build backyard. And I think the bottom line is how we can encourage them, how we can facilitate them. What are the opportunities and resources that we are going to put at their disposal? How we are going to allow them to understand what join up government mean? How we are going to make them feel join up government when those persons from the diaspora come to Jamaica on the 14th to the 18th of June this year to participate in another biannual conference. Where have we gone beyond the last conference? And we want to hear some of the good stories that are coming out of the last conference. What were the connections made? What were some of the businesses that have been developed and have come about as a result of that? And we want some testimonies from some of these Jamaica diaspora personnel who are there to say, listen, boy, when I came down last time, I was skeptical. It was my first conference, but I meet up on some people from the agricultural department, and I was able to get the piece of land a country, get a title for it, and get it sorted out. And a long time they landed there, and a 13-acre and they just sit down there, so you can come home now, come plant some food, or you can come in, you come plant something that are meaningful. Or somebody will say, listen, I have the land, I never know if you do it, but then when I came down, I get in touch with somebody from, from another part of the world, from China, and they want ginger. And I'm retired now, and I want to stay here, so, I go plant some ginger upon my 15-acre where I have down that Temple Hall. And say, I can make some ginger and, use that money there for me, my retirement. So we want to know some of these, success stories that comes out of the Diaspora Conference and to see how it goes. So when you put out a Diaspora magazine for the next conference, you're now able to report in that magazine. Granted, a lot of people are online, but some of us are old school who want to see it in the writing in black and white. And I want Mr. Courtney Campbell, who's the chairman and co-chair with Jamaica National, Mr. Earl Jarrett, and the Honorable Minister to look at what kind of publication they put out apart from an online digital stuff. Yes, the digital is needed and it is there, but all of people still want to see them in a black and white. And not have to be a big Bible. Just visible successes and documentary things about the success of the Jamaica Diaspora Conference and where it's going and what has happened since then. The last conference was also a success. They had record number of registration and participation levels, and people from different parts of the world who had never been to Jamaica in a while or who never knew that some things were happening in Jamaica and decided to take the risk and had come, really were wonderfully surprised and enjoyed themselves apart from the culture and getting again immersed into the niceness of yard and getting involved with some of the achievements and realizing that where them they left bridle track and no highway and main road in Jamaica. So they were astounded a bit. So there were quite a number of little moments and gems that came out of that conference. I had a winding up of the conference discussion with Mr. Courtney Campbell, who the chairman then, and of course, Honorable Minister Kamina Johnson-Smith. And I want to share with you parts of that discussion that we had with the winding up. And then in my next presentation on the diaspora, because it's on the 14th to the 18th of June, and going forward, we will be bringing you diaspora updates on each program as we go along right up onto the conference. We had some discussions. Let me share with you some of that discussion that I had with those two important persons who are the head of the organization and who anchored the operation with the fantastic work of the various persons who were the foot soldiers.
is long, but many a winding journey that leads us to who knows where?
Getting feedback.
Who knows where? It's the closing exercise of the 10th biennial diaspora conference here at the convention center in Montreal. It is indeed my distinct pleasure this afternoon to speak to the two driving forces. There are many elements, some persons and a part of the driving force, but two key people who are really had sleepless nights and nightmares, whatever it was, trying to get this child to come to birth of this child. The diaspora conference. The distinguished Minister of Foreign Affairs, and of course, His Excellency, the President of Jamaica, Victoria Mutual Building Society. Lady and gentlemen, thank you so much. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Closing exercise.
Thank you for having us, and good afternoon to your viewers.
What a conference. What a conference.
Has been amazing.
It has been amazing. When you get home tonight, you should breathe a heavy sigh of release. My God, it's over.
No, tomorrow we have day of service.
Yeah.
Tomorrow we have day of service. And the conference not done yet. Legal and constitutional reform is going on now, right now.
Right.
First, let me start with you. What has this been like for you, Minister?
It has been amazing. I was laughing with somebody to say I'm literally running out of words to express the joy that I am feeling in all of the engagements, in all the interactions, in the outcomes. We just launched the 2 portals. One, our education lead launched the mentorship framework, mentorship academy, a virtual academy for mentorship so we can make more connections. And by the way, this is the diaspora registration portal is now Connect Me JA. Connect Me JA. Yes, not boring diaspora. Connect Me JA, and it's available on the Google and Apple Store, Google Play and Apple Store. But so many things: business, philanthropy, individual connection and emotional journeys, passport, citizenship, and TRN and company registration. Everything is happening here. So I'm so grateful for the support of the BM Group, and in particular the chairmanship of Courtney Campbell. He has been hands-on, roll up sleeves, get it done, and has given such insights and resource support that it has really been absolutely critical to this conference of
I
this.
hear another member of the legacy group complimenting the kind of work that you have put in, Courtney, and the kind of support and the kind of ease and comfort with which you do it.
Yeah.
This kind of like it's not a bother. It's like,
Not at all.
but I've seen you at work on the floor, greeting, receiving, talking to people while at the same time giving directions and instructions to the various staff members that you have. Tell us about your operation in this matrix.
And well, you know what? It's a joy. It's a joy to serve. I see this as national. It's a joy. It's a joy to serve. I see this as national service, because the reality is that the diaspora is an important part of Jamaica. The Jamaicans who live overseas are almost in number the same as those who live here. And we are better off as a nation by integrating them into the economy, the society, and in our cultural affairs. And for me, it has been a joy to serve, but also to work with the leadership of the ministry, from Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith, who is here, Minister of State Alana Terrelong, the permanent secretary, undersecretary, the entire team has been a real joy to work with them. And also the other legacy partners from JN and Grace Kennedy. These are people who are very committed to diaspora outreach, diaspora engagement. So we're doing it for the love, not for the likes.
That's a good one.
What has been, it's so multifaceted.
It is.
But what has been the most successful part of this for you and most satisfying aspect of this journey?
That's a very difficult question. I will share that the most satisfying thing for me was to learn of a problem, a 20-year problem. A Jamaican whose daughter had had her passport stolen in Costa Rica 20 years ago and had had several failed attempts to get her identity sorted. And I was able to connect her with the right person at PICA, not just PICA, but the right person. Sit down with them. And because, you know, sometimes when you have a problem, and it happens a lot in the diaspora, you become so emotionally overwrought by your issue that when you get the opportunity to seek to solve it, you really only enunciate the feelings that you have about it and not what needs to be done. And because I'm familiar with that, I was able to help to, let me call it a translation process, and have them together. And there is now a process. He has gotten a new form, directions on the other documentation that he needs, a personal contact information, and a commitment to me that this will be solved within weeks.
Great.
And so when you ask me about personally satisfying, that has to be, and I know it's one person, so maybe it's not politic to say, because there's so much else, but the ability to make a difference in someone's life, for me, it's still paramount. And I know in foreign affairs, you're sometimes very distant from that.
Yes.
So when I have the opportunity, then it is particularly satisfying. And then I can get into a list of 1,000 other things that are great about this conference. But this I carry in my heart. This I carry in my heart.
That kind of experience with the individuals, it's going to be something that they will cherish and they'll remember. And it speaks volumes.
And you know, I don't even know so much about that part because the thanks aren't usually so.
Yes.
But that's a life, because when you hear the story about what she has been through because of a lack of identification, oh my goodness, you really just so I'm grateful for the opportunity to make a difference like that, and that is the kind of work that's happening here. So when people speak about talk, there are things that are happening
and
here.
it tells me how you solve some of the challenges of the ministry.
Well, yeah.
Within the context of that. Yes, indeed. I have been getting some very positive results from people who want to do business, people who want to make a connection here, people who want to, one day they say, come on, that kind of.
That's right.
How does one respond to that kind of a greeting and satisfaction when you're the contributor?
For me, that has been the biggest benefit of this conference, to hear from the delegates. Because, yes, we could speak about the record registration, record attendance. We could speak about the record sponsorship. But for me, those points, though important, are not as important as what the people have been saying. I heard from delegates today that this has been the best conference that they've attended. I asked them why, because sometimes people are just feeling good, they don't even know why. So I asked why. And they were very specific. They spoke about the connections that they were able to make. These are real connections that will help them to advance their business or to advance their other aspirations. They spoke about the rich information that they were able to access. That, they're saying, one lady said she didn't know all of this information was here, that all of these investment opportunities were here, and how to tap into them. So the information has been really power, and knowledge is power.
Yes, indeed.
So they now know how to act. And she's saying she's investing in the New York Stock Exchange and others. Why not in her own country? So for me, those connections, the information, and just the overall vibe, that people are feeling that they're feeling more integrated now. That's a sense that they have left with, and many of them.
It's a sense of connection.
Yes, they're saying that they feel more connected. They understand better what's going on here. Warts and all. They know that things aren't perfect, but they're seeing opportunities, and more importantly, they feel integrated. So I would say
included.
Which is fundamental.
That's right.
I like that.
That meeting from the people on the floor and just generate at the dining table. They let this straight up cordial and friendliness and and the fact that I'm home and this is happening at home, this excitement, which is really, really, I have been to several campus, and I can say openly about that you have not gotten this kind of a oneness.
And I think we were intentional when we sat with the ministry team, and we started planning this from the end of last year and coming into this year. We agreed that we would want this that the program to reflect more mutuality. Yeah.